All right, how are we doing? So I'm super excited, and you should be excited too. I'm absolutely pumped because we have the most amazing, jam-packed training just for you. And the greatest thing is that we have almost 100 people on here. It's crazy. I got Tom in Washington. I've got Sean over in Denver. I've got a lot of people, and I don't want to keep doing these call-outs. But what I do ask of you is get to a place where you're distraction-free. Go to maybe your garage, a spare room, just somewhere where you can just focus on this, because this is going to be amazing, life-changing training. Another thing that'd be good is have a notepad and a pen, and we're going to be throwing a massive amount of information, and you're going to want to write it down. And then with that being said, on the right-hand side, you got the chat bar. I'm very interactive. Carlos is very interactive. And ask questions, and we're actually going to also be engaging you. So this is going to be a great, great, massive training. So the guy who's going to start this, he's absolutely amazing. His name is Carlos Salgado. He's a regional marketing director in Southern California. And this guy, the first time I met him, I just knew that he had a heart of gold. I knew that this man just genuinely cared, was out for the best interest of people. And I immediately knew, I was like, this is the guy I want to follow. And the greatest thing is, that's what he does. He absolutely leads with value. He lives, has a heart of gold, huge conviction, and the greatest thing is, he's lived a life of just service. Recently, about 2 years ago, got out of the Marine Corps, and this man is 100% amazing leader, and the best person to talk to about this tonight, because he not only has been my partner and a mentor for me, but he personally helped out my family, found the best thing to get us on the right foot forward financial future. How great is that? Yeah. So without further ado, I want to kick it over to the man, the myth, the legend, Carlos Salgado.
I don't know about the legend there, man, but I really appreciate the introduction. Always a pleasure to get on these webinars. I see that we have a great amount of people on, and that's very encouraging. I believe this is going to be extremely valuable. We want to try to keep this under an hour, so we got a lot of content to deliver. So let's get this going. Again, a little bit about me. You know, my background, I've been in this industry for about 10 years. Prior to that, and during that, I spent about 15 years in the Marine Corps. And, you know, during my time, you know, as a Marine, about the age of 25, that's really when I started having some epiphanies financially. I realized that I was following in the same footsteps as my family, and wasn't making the best decisions financially, was racking up debt. And right then and there, I vowed I do not want to end up in the same, you know, shoes that some of my family members ended up financially. And I seeked out counsel. I seeked out, you know, advice, and I was able to obtain some of these resources that I'm about to share with you. And it made really a dramatic impact in my personal development as far as how money worked. And what we want to cover today is just basically a few things. The reasons why so many people struggle financially, guys, is it's obvious across the board. There's a huge lack of education. There's a huge lack of financial literacy. You know, people are financially illiterate, and on top of that, there's also a psychology issue with it. And so I want to cover and uncover some of these things that are really taking place. So hopefully it'll shed some light on your situation, and it'll help you and benefit you like it did for me. And you know, when 10 years ago, when this was brought up to my attention, I took immediate action, and I never looked back. I never thought that this was the industry I was going to get involved with, but I was learning these things. I realized as I looked around me, my peer group and my family, many people didn't have these resources. They didn't have this basic education, and I started sharing it, and before you know it, I said, you know what, this is probably the career I want to get into, and I did. And we ended up starting a company where we're going out there and just educating, you know, thousands of people on the basics of how money works, and just helping them, you know, get from point A to point B in a very symptomatic way. It's not difficult. And what we're going to cover today, I can assure you, is not rocket science. You know, it's very much common sense, but I'll tell you right now, it's just not common knowledge. And so that's the purpose of this webinar, to really go out there and provide a platform to share these valuable resources that can really enhance your financial quality of life. So let me go ahead and get started. I'm going to go into desktop mode here. And bam, Andrew, let me know if my slides don't turn over, but you should be able to see my presentation.
Will do.
Thank you, sir. So this is our company's name, guys. Difference Financial and Insurance Services. Many on the webinar know, but there's a lot of you that don't know. We're a 3-year-old company. Like I said, I've been in the industry 10 years. Back in 2011, we decided to go ahead and launch a company because it was just the right time. The recession was kind of, in full effect, and people were just really in a disarray financially, and we're looking for options and resources, and where can I go learn so I don't make the same mistakes that I made over the last decade. And we said, why don't we go out there and develop a company where we can really provide these valuable tools, this knowledge, this education to people that are traditionally overlooked by the industry. And that's where Difference came to be. So me and a few friends of mine, we opened a few offices already. I work out of here in San Diego. Andrew, my business partner, who's also on this webinar, is based out of Florida. And especially over the last year, we've been doing a lot more on the webinar series, just getting together one-on-one with clients. So it doesn't matter if I'm in California and they're in Idaho or wherever it may be, we've been able to help people. So technology is really evolving, and we're utilizing that to really help us go out there and help more people. And this is our motto, to help families achieve their dreams. And so the reason why this is so important, as you see here, the current situation for so many families is people have poor savings habits, right? And on top of that, they have such an increase in debt. The average household that we sit with has about $15,000 in credit card debt. That's just very typical out here in San Diego, California. And I'm sure in many parts of the United States, but that's been my experience in the clients that I deal with here. And on top of that, you got a lot of youngsters that are racking up a lot of student loan debt. Out here it's very typical to come across someone in their mid to late 20s that's over $50,000 to $100,000 plus in student loan debt. So we got young people that can't afford to buy a home out here. The cost of living is slightly higher, and on top of that, they have a mortgage before they even have a mortgage. And coupled with, poor savings habits and just not understanding the basics of how money works is causing a lot of issues for people. Then on top of that, on the flip side of that, you have the older generation, the baby boomers, who they didn't plan properly, and so they never set up a proper retirement plan, or they have no retirement plan. And some of those that did start saving money, they didn't save enough, and they're scared of losing in case another market crash happens, or they're going to outlive their money. It's very common. You go to any Walmart out here, and the average age you'll see there is people definitely in their 60s, even some in their 70s, because the number one source of income for many baby boomers right now is Social Security. We often talk about, is Social Security, is that going to be something that we can count on? I'm talking about these next generations, and it's probably not. And there's a lot of issues going on with Social Security right now, but for many baby boomers, that is their number one source of income, and you're talking about an average of $1,200. And out here in San Diego, $1,200 does not get you too far, right? So now you have senior citizens that are working, and they're competing with 16 to 18-year-olds in the job market for these minimum wage jobs. And this is just the truth of the matter. It's sad, but it's the absolute truth. On the bottom left, many families are unprepared for unexpected changes. And as I've gone around and sat with families, I can tell you with absolute conviction that many families are maybe 2 to 3 paychecks away from being on the street, meaning that they don't have enough reserves, they don't have savings. If something unexpected happens, like a breadwinner dies unexpectedly, someone loses their job, there's not a plan in place, to help them carry on. And this is a big problem. So on the bottom right there, you see a strain on relationships, which is, let's face it, the number one cause of divorce is financially related. So these are, 80%, and I think most people would agree that 80% of what most people worry about is financially related. Whether it's debt, not making enough money, not meeting our monthly commitments, not having enough money set aside, we don't know where we stand financially. This causes a lot of stress, and so we want to bring these things to light. That's the purpose of this webinar. And this is my favorite slide because it's very basic, but it really takes a snapshot on what's taking place in the economy. 98% of people in this country will fall under the income brackets of about $40,000 to about $100,000 a year. That's where most people are at if you look at middle class America. You got some people that make less than that. You got people that make more, but for the most part, your middle class is $40,000 to $100,000. And for most people, if they do set money aside, they typically put money in banks. And I typically ask people, why do you put money in the bank? You know, because it's safe, because that's all I know. And I ask them, how come you never get around to saving or investing money? And the two biggest reasons are, number one, I don't know how that works, right? And I don't want to lose any of my money. So lack of education and fear, right, which makes a lot of sense. So we're going to shed some light why things are the way they are in a very one simple slide. So 98% of people, if they put money in banks, they put money in instruments like savings accounts, which right now pay about 0.2% national average. Checking account, you don't earn anything. You can get some savings instruments through a bank like a money market or a CD, which right now national average, you're looking at about a little over 1%. But for most people, if they're putting money in a savings account, they don't realize that they're still losing money. And I often get a look like, how am I losing money? Because I see my savings account, I haven't lost a dime. And the answer is inflation. And when you ask the average person, what is inflation? Many people do not understand what inflation is. And that's the cost of living. And a real basic way to say it is, if you ever bought a soda at a vending machine today, and I've seen them as high as $2, if you look at it about 10 years ago, you probably bought a soda, it was maybe 75 cents. 10 years, quarter, right? So that's inflation. I mean, the cost of living is increasing. On average, it goes up about 3 to 4% a year. So if you're earning 0.2% in a savings account and you're trying to save for a rainy day or save for the future because you're just trying to save, many people don't realize that you're losing money because the cost of living, inflation is about 4%. So you see the basic math there. You're earning 0.2, inflation's 4, you're losing 3.8%. So that means the cost of living is eating up your money. Many people don't acknowledge that or even realize that that's happening. Now, you go to the right, the top 2% of the country makes about $250,000 or more per year. And because we live in capitalism, you know, these businesses such as Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley, Charles Schwab, all great companies, but what side of the fence do they focus on as far as marketing the services and gaining their clientele? Well, they focus on the right side. Why? Because that's where the money's at. So capitalism drives behavior. They're in business for themselves as well, and they're going to go where they're going to get the most bang for their buck. And where they're going to get the most bang for their buck is people that have higher incomes, and so they get into wealth management. So I don't know about you guys, but you know, my family's worked really hard. When I was growing up, we were middle class, but we never had a Merrill Lynch or Morgan Stanley advisor come to our house and teach us how the market worked. Why? And this is the reason why. So these broker dealers, as we call them, well, they focus on that top 2%, and they get to teach them how stocks, how bonds, how mutual funds work. And you know, 2014, this year, between 2013 and 2014, it was a pretty darn good year in the market. And if you did right, you probably earned upwards of 12%. So you see right there, if you had a good year where you earned 12%, well, the cost of living affects everybody. Everybody's got to pay 4%, even wealthy. We all live in here, right? So you're taking 12 steps forward, earning 12%, 4 steps back with inflation, you're still at an 8% gain by its negative 3.8% on the left-hand side. Does that make sense? So this is why the rich get richer and the poor get poor. And I said in the intro video when I was inviting people to the webinar, there are really two types of people, those that earn interest and those that pay it. And I talked a little bit about psychology. And I just want to show you really quick the reason why there's such a huge gap between 98% and 2%. It's dramatic, right? Well, what keeps people on the 98% side is because of psychology. I know because I grew up there. I know because I used to be there. And on the 98% side, the way that we learn money in our lives is we learn to work for it. We learn to work hard for it. On the right side, I thought they did the same thing. They work hard, but they look at money in such a different perspective. On the right side, they learn how to make money work for them. And that is the key psychological difference. What separates most people mentally when it comes to money is 98% of people work hard for money, and the top 2% of America makes the money work hard for them. And so what we do here at Difference is we really want to bridge the gap here because it's dramatic, and if we keep going the way we're going, it's just going to get worse and worse. So we just want to go out there and educate families where our passion is our crusade is helping the 98%, helping Wall Street get to Main Street, as you see the picture there. And all we want to do is help that 98% get to the right side by focusing and teaching education, basic concepts and strategies, to teach them the psychology so they can be earning interest instead of paying it, right? And teach them how the markets work and how money works in a very basic way. So that's exactly what we do, and we find people that get a lot of value from just this slide. Hope you did. But because one size doesn't fit all, people say, I've never heard the difference, Carlo. I never heard of difference financial and insurance services. And many people are apprehensive of wanting to put money with a startup company that they've never heard of. Well, we're pretty much past that startup phase. And the beauty of that is when people save money with us, they're not putting any money with difference. We don't manufacture any of our own retirement products. We don't have a difference IRA or a difference insurance program. We represent some of the very top companies that have been in the game for some over 150 years, right? Very powerful, A-rated, billion-dollar companies that have valuable resources that pretty much were focused on the affluent people that had that top 2% that had money. And now we got them re-engaged, so let's go out there and focus on the middle class to help them get the same resources, the same products that can get them to where they need to be, retirement-wise. And that is the benefit. And we don't work for just one company. We have many companies at our disposal. It just depends on what people are looking for, because people are at different areas of their life when it comes to money. So we don't just have one company. So I hope that makes a lot of sense. So we have a lot of options and choices that people can make here is based on what they want to do. Now, I want to go ahead and let me get out of my screen here. And I want to go ahead and turn this portion back over to Andrew. And before Andrew comes back up, I just really want to, introduce him in the way that I've got to know him. As a veteran, Andrew's also a veteran, worked in the Navy, and he's a Navy EOD guy. If you don't know what EOD guys, they go out there and they defuse bombs, and he's been very passionate. He's an amazing teacher. He's been an instructor in the military for a good amount of years now. And one thing that he loved about what we do is he's kind of still defusing bombs, but he's just doing it for America, defusing these financial bombs that are taking place in people's houses. And he's very passionate about teaching people, the basics, because I remember when I sat with him and his wife and the dramatic difference it made as far as the education, what we were able to do. And he's like, man, I want to be able to do this for so many people, because I know so many people that don't have a plan or don't know any of this stuff. And he ran with it, and he's been able to help a lot of people. That's why he's on this webinar. So just really proud to be working with another veteran that still continued to serve. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, buddy.
Hey, thank you so much for that, Carlo. So give me a quick second. I can go back to my PowerPoint, good old screen share. But while I'm doing this, how amazing was that? All we did is talk about the current situation of America and just the psychology behind why people are where they're at. But already, isn't that valuable? Well, right now we're going to talk about my true passion. This is what we do for families. Right here you see this awesome, amazing financial compass. But what this is the six steps that we feel that will help get families financially stable. These are the 6 aspects that you need to cover to get yourself covered. So the very first one is very simple. It's establishing proper protection. And so we don't really like to talk about the inevitable, but you always have to plan for when people die. And it's always worse when it's the breadwinner. But an analogy I like to put it is, let's just say we have a machine. We have a machine that's in our garage. And all we're going to do is turn this machine on and off every single day, 5 days a week. That's it. And this is going to get us $60,000 a year. How great is that? All we got to do is turn it on and turn it off. So if it's that easy, wouldn't it be smart for us to, I don't know, protect it just in case it broke? Well, it's the same thing for your family. You need to have that protection there. You need to have a backup plan for when the unexpected happens. Second one is the most fun, and it's increasing cash flow. Who doesn't want more money? But before we talk about making more money, we need to manage the money we currently have. And I've sat with almost 100 families. Carlos sat with over 1,000 families, and we see it all the time. You sit down with a family, this is how much they make, this is how much their bills are, and there's still $2,000 left on the table, and nobody knows where it's at. And sometimes it's 500. I've seen up to 2,000, and you see the spouses look at each other like, where's all that money at? Where's it going? But another thing that a lot of people don't realize is their daily vice. For some people, it might be that Starbucks coffee. It could be other habits. But that Starbucks coffee, if you just have it during the working week, that's $5 a day. That's $25 a week. That's $100 a month, or $1,200 a year for that one simple cup of coffee. And all you have to do is just do minor tweaks, and you can figure out where the holes are in the ship. And so if we know that the ship's leaking, why don't we plug the holes, figure out where we can cut, where we can maneuver, so we can move forward strategically? Makes sense, right? And then after we do that, then we can also teach people, teach families how to earn additional income. Because that's amazing. And that's what a lot of people want to do. This is truly the step that absolutely sets us apart from everybody else. This is, as Carlo told you, Merrill Lynch, Charles Schwab, none of them do this. And that's helping people, helping families establish that strong credit. I've sat with many, many families just helping them get out of debt. That's it. They're in a bad situation and they feel like there's no way out. And the greatest thing is being the person to let them know that, hey, there is a way out. We have amazing software. We have debt reduction calculators where I can show you what you're currently doing, how long it's going to take for you to get out of debt, and how much interest you're going to have to pay. And then also with the calculator, I can show you 1 of 6 different strategies, find the best one that works for your current situation, and you'll see how drastically the date changes and the amount of interest you're going to pay. And all you're doing is doing minor changes within people's lifestyle, with their habits, and you're going to get these huge momentous changes. And then not only that, but we also help restore their credit. Not only are we getting on a better foot, but we're also, hey, they're out of debt now. Let's clean up their credit score. Let's get them on the best step that we can. How great is that? And then some of the most important ones is having that emergency fund. We always need to be ready for when the unexpected happens, when change happens. Because it always seems like when you're running low on money, that's when the refrigerator breaks, or that's when the car breaks down. When you have people coming in town, and that's when the water heater breaks. And like, oh my gosh. So that's why we suggest you should have anywhere from 3 to 6 months of income. Just super simple. Now, a lot of people don't have an emergency fund in any way, shape, or form. And then they treat it like people treat the New Year's resolution. Hey, I'm going to save $10 million by tomorrow. No, you're probably not. Or I'm going to save $1,000 by next week. You're probably not, and especially if you haven't been saving in the past. Because all saving is, it's working out. That's it. It's a muscle. And you don't just immediately go to the heavy weights. You start small and work your way up. And so what we do is we help families. We find a simple number to start with, whether it's $20, $50, $100 a month, something simple. And after you stick to that for a while, then we can step it up. And then you're going to start not missing that money and keep stepping up and keep stepping up. You're going to be amazed. You're going to be astonished for what you get afterwards. And you're actually going to hit that goal of having the emergency fund. And it just feels so amazing. And so we come at stuff from the right approach instead of treating everything like a New Year's resolution. One of the scariest things right now is the price of college. Carlo has 2 amazing kids. I've got 1 little kid as well. And we are already starting to plan for college. And the day my son was born, we already had an account for money going into it. And it's because the price of college is going up every single year. And then the scary thing is, the jobs that you get after college, a lot of the times you don't even need a degree, or it's not utilizing a degree that you have. Not anything in your field. If you have a bachelor's, all they require is an associate, so on and so forth. And all the high-paying, the amazing jobs, they're going away. And so that's a scary, scary thing. So getting student loans, that's very detrimental. And that's what a lot of people are doing, and we're having a big problem with that in America. And so if you actually plan for it and have the money already set aside, that makes everything so much easier and so much less stress, which is great. And then my absolute favorite is asset growth and preservation. And so we're talking about your future, the money you put aside, whether it's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, retirement accounts. What we want to do is increase your long-term wealth, and we want to minimize taxation. And also, we want to protect the money that you currently have. So if we do have market crashes, like the dot-com bubble, like the housing bubble, we want to protect you from losing a whole lot of money. And let's think about it this way. 2007, people had $1 million. We'll just do a simple number in the retirement account. They're getting ready to retire. We're talking about 8 months from retirement. They are ready. They've worked a long time. They're just so excited for this retirement. But in a matter of 2 months, they lost 40% of their retirement accounts. So they went from 1 million to 600,000. They went from 8 months away from retiring to, wow, I've got to work a whole lot longer, and I was not prepared for that. But the greatest thing is we can show you different options, different tools that will help you protect what you currently have, so nothing like that can happen for you. And not only that, we can show you how to get lifetime income, so you'll never have to worry about outliving your money. And the bottom line is you need to preserve your estate. How great is that? And so this is what we do for families. And not only do we do this for families, but we put together a personalized plan completely complimentary. How great is that? So what I'd like you to do is just think about this. Which of these 1 through 6 could you use a little more help with in your life? Do you want a little more information from? You can either write it down, put it in the chat bar, you can text the person that got you on this webinar, but what of these could help you out in your life? And the reason why I ask that is because greatest thing is, what if we can sit down with you, completely complimentary, do a full analysis budget, and put together a specialized plan just for you and your family? And something that's not even going to interfere with your normal habits in your normal life. We're just going to take what you normally do and tweak it slightly and just do this tiny little adjustments to show you how much a little can do. How great is that? So right now I'm seeing in the chat bar, a lot of people want to know more about asset growth and preservation, and guess what? That's coming up. We're going to give you a whole bunch of information about that because that's our bread and butter. So if you haven't heard about the Rule of 72, and some people have, some people haven't, but Albert Einstein said this is the greatest mathematical discovery of all time. And it's easy. All you're going to do is take the percent rate and divide by 72. So you're going to divide 72 by whatever percentage you're getting. That's the correct way. I said it incorrectly first. And so all we're doing is we have a 29-year-old that puts $10,000 in and keeps it there. Just $10,000 one time, doesn't put anything else in there. And so at 4%, you're going to take 72 divided by 4, and the number you get is 18. So what that means is it's going to take 18 years for that $10,000 to double itself. And so it's only going to double twice, so we end up with 40,000 at age 65. Now we go to 6%, now we're doubling every 12 years by 18. So instead of ending with 40,000, we're going to end with 80,000. Just 2%. That's all it takes. And that 2% is going to come in huge later when we talk about different fees that come involved, hidden fees that don't even realize are happening within your accounts. And a lot of times you're like, oh, that's just 2%. But if we're talking about 2% right now, you're talking about half of your investment. That 2% goes a huge way. And then we're going to step up to 8% instead of 12 years. Our money is going to double every 9 years. So we're going to have 160,000. And then when Carlos was talking before about getting 12%, well, that's going to double every 6 years. So we're going to end up with 640,000 by 40,000. $600,000 more and only 8% more. And as you notice, it's in the later years that's utilizing that compound interest to really make a difference. And all we did was we start with $10,000. How crazy is that? So now we're going to talk about this amazing thing called taxes. Now there's two things that are for certain in life. You are born free and you're taxed to death. And so when you earn it, guess what? They're going to tax you. When you spend it, they're going to tax you. When you save it, they're going to tax you. When you die, they're still going to tax you. We have income tax. We have state tax. We have sales tax. They're going to get their money from you. And so right here, we go to 3 different zones. These are 3 different taxable accounts per the IRS tax code. We have red, which is the taxable, blue, which is tax deferred, and then green, which is our tax advantaged. So our red zone is what we're going to start with, and that's the normal income you're making, and that's interest coming off of any of your accounts, whether it's a savings, it's a stock, a bond, a mutual fund, it's a CD, it's your checking account, anything that you're in interest off of. And so how it works is you're going to be taxed proportionately, and as your account grows, your tax is going to grow. And so this is not anything at all preferred for retirement, but this is great for your normal everyday accounts or your more short-term accounts. So making sense so far? So now we're going to go to this blue zone, and this is where most people have retirement accounts. And these are going to be your 401k, your 403b for our teachers, your TSP for my military people, our normal pension plans, annuities, and our IRAs. So how this works is you're going to put in money and it's tax-free. And not only is it tax-free, but guess what? You get a little tax advantage, or you get some tax money back when you do taxes every year. And how this works is when you put in, it's put in tax-free, and it's going to grow tax-free, and then it's going to keep growing tax-free. But when you need it the most, when it's the biggest it can possibly get, guess what? That's when they tax you. So you can get tax breaks along the way, but it's not even going to make up for the fact of how much they tax you in the end. And I've sat with countless families like, well, that's fine because I'm not going to pull out that much. I only want to pull out $60,000. Like, all right, well, let's do the math. If you want to live off the $60,000, you need to pull out $80,000. And like, Andrew, no, you're wrong. And I was like, well, you're going to be taxed as ordinary income. You've never once been taxed on this, so now it's the biggest it can possibly be and the most when you need it. Guess what? That's when you get taxed. And so for you to live off of 60, you need to pull out roughly 80,000. And they're just mind-boggled because they were not prepared for that. And then we're going to talk about my favorite, which is a tax advantage zone. And this is your Roth IRA, the now released Roth TSP, which is great, or life insurance contracts. We have cash accumulation inside life insurance. That's your Index Universal Life. And so as you follow the bubbles, how this works is you're putting already taxed money into your retirement account. And so since it's already been taxed, now it's going to grow tax-free. And then it's going to keep growing tax-free. And then when you absolutely need the most, guess what? It's still tax-free. So if you want to pull out 60, you pull out 60 and you get all 60. How great is that? But we're going to put a different analogy if the buckets and circles aren't enough. Now we're going to be, you're a farmer. Now, as a farmer, would you rather get taxed on the seeds or the harvest? And please, by all means, put the answer in the chat bar. And I'm going to keep talking as we get a couple chats in. And so a lot of people are like, well, I don't know how much I'm going to make off the harvest, so I might want to do the seeds because I can control how many seeds I put in. And a lot of people are absolutely, I want to do the harvest. But I love the people that talk about they don't know how the harvest is going to do. That's the same thing as your accounts. When you put in the stock market, you don't know how it's going to do. You're just hoping that you turn that seeds into a great plentiful harvest. But if I was a farmer, I'd much rather get taxed on those seeds than the harvest. So when I have that big, amazing, great year, guess what? It's all mine because I was already taxed. We getting value from this? So we're going to stop right there. I'm going to come on back. Give me a couple seconds because it's always fun with this. All right, there we are. So how awesome was that? Now, a lot of people said they want to learn about asset growth and preservation. And the greatest thing is that's what we're going to do. I'm going to turn it back over to Carlos Salgado. He's the greatest person. He loves doing this. So he's going to show you exactly what different options you have for retirement accounts, what are the best ones that could be for you. And the greatest thing is a lot of this information, some people don't know. I didn't know a good amount of this information until I sat down with Carlos Salgado. So, hey, brother, it is all you.
Awesome, brother. So quick question before I go is, there's a question here from Allison. She want to know, so can you explain, so the 6 steps, if I wanted to get a complimentary just financial analysis, that's completely complimentary, right? So,
Absolutely, it is. Absolutely. And so once again, as I was saying, that's what sets us apart from other companies, is especially we're helping people get out of debt, helping get them on the right track. Why would we charge them? And so everything that we do for families, all of our time, all of our advice is completely complimentary.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, man. And people want to say, well, I can kind of piggyback on that as well, you know, Allison, and just to kind of share with you that for most people, you know, they don't know how money works, especially since we focus more on the middle class market. And so that what we do is we get paid by the different companies that we represent. So the fact that we don't have to charge a client, and people say, well, how do you make money? Well, we're a full-service broker-dealer that represents many companies and many products, not just one. So when we go out there and we put a plan in place for a family, we're basically getting compensated by the company that we set that plan up with, right? So people always want to know that question. So going back here, hopefully you should be able to see my slides, and we're going to carry on with this, guys, and we're kind of reaching the end here, so hopefully you're getting a ton of value from this. And this is a very powerful slide because a picture is definitely worth 1,000 words. And this is where education really comes full circle because you have options. And a lot of people don't really know what options they do have. Now, what makes more sense based on this picture, and this is where everybody's money's at. Your money can go in only one of 3 areas. Now, we are currently right now in 2014, we're in a very low interest environment. So if somebody say has $100,000 and puts it, let's say, in a CD where you're earning a whopping 1.2%, we already told you the cost of living is 4%, so 1.2% does not keep up with 4, so inflation is eating your money. So we know that's not good there. Option B is you can go ahead and put your money in the stock market, and we know what goes up must come down, and we know that there's 100% client risk. You know, going back to 2008, we knew that the average account lost about 40% of its account value. And nobody, especially if you were near retirement, nobody expected that, and that was a huge blow. Okay? Option C is what we strategize and specialize in, is the strategy of indexing. And basically what indexing is it's a proven method that you can hedge against the market. So basically is you can put money in, and if the market goes up, you'll make money. And if the market tanks, you don't lose any of your money. And everybody asks, Huck, this sounds way too good to be true. Okay, now this is absolute gospel, guys. Indexing is alive and well. Many people just don't know about it. Okay, it is something that's focused for long term. Okay, if you're in the short-term game, unless you're doing indexing in stocks, you're probably not going to be able to take advantage of this. But many people don't understand how it works. But we're more focused on the long-term retirement planning game, and indexing is a great strategy. Why? Because there's no risk. So if the market goes up, you make money. If the market tanks, you don't lose any money. And that's what we mean by principal protection, right? So you don't lose any money in the market. and all your gains are locked in. So if you look at the picture in the box C, let's just use a hypothetical number of 1,000 on the bottom there, and that 1,000 grows to 2,000, and then the market tanks. Well, you're going to stay at 2,000, so all your gains are locked in. So during the down market, you stay even. Now, when the market picks back up, you're going to pick up right from that 2,000. So now you go to 3,000, and the market tanks. You're locked in. So that's what yearly reset means. That means that every year, whatever gains that you make are now locked in, right? So you start all over. So you don't ever have to lose any of your gains. And if the market does well, you're going to capture the gains of the market. Now, depending on what you do as a product, you're not going to get 100% of the gains, and we're not going to go into detail with that, but you're going to get a good majority of the gains of what the market does. But if you can say, look, I'm not going to get 100% of the upside of the market, but I'm going to still get a darn good rate of return if the market does well. And if the market tanks, you're never going to go below 0%. That means you don't lose any principal. Would that be worth it? Absolutely. You know, so we get a lot of questions from that, and that's something that we'll cover more on a one-on-one basis, so we can break it down. But basically, option C is what a lot of people are big fans of, because, yeah, I want to make money if the market does well, but I don't want to lose any money if the market crashes. How do I do that? That's what option C is about, and that's what we help people do. Now, to kind of put it in numerically here, so the red line here is the stock market. This is the S&P 500 with negative and positive returns. If you rolled over $100,000 in day one around the year 2000, well, this is what happened. So from 2000 to about the end of 2002, there was a market decline. There are some things that happened there. 9/11 happened there. So that affects the markets. So that $100,000 lost almost 40% of its account value, down to about $62,000. And then from the end of 2002 to about 2007 and 8, it was boomtown. So that $62,000 now grew and pretty much almost doubled itself to about $112,000. And then in 2008, we experienced the worst market crash since the Great Depression, and you know that 112,000 dropped down to 70. And since then, we've been doing okay, and that 70 now goes up to 121. Now it's a roller coaster, okay? It is the yo-yo effect, and we know that markets go up and markets go down. All that we believe here, look, I'm not someone that's anti-market, and we're not a company that's anti-market, but what we believe is that you should not have to gamble with your retirement. We firmly believe that. You should be able to make a decent rate of return that's way better than what the bank can offer you without having to risk your money. And that's what indexing is all about. So if you look at $100,000 in the blue line, that's where we come in. So you see how from 2000 to 2002, you're not making any gains, but you're not making any losses, so your principal of $100,000 stays intact. Right? Now, when you start making more money, when the market picks up, you're going to start locking in those gains. And you'll see there in between 2007 and 2008 that the blue line did not go below. That's what the symbol of the lock is. Your money is locked in. Now, after 2008, when the market started picking back up, so do you. So look at the dramatic effect of $310,000 vice $121,000. This is actually true. It's not rocket science. Which one makes more sense? That's all that we believe here is don't gamble with your retirement. We do a lot of rollovers into these types of accounts. So if you have a Roth IRA, we can roll it over into here. If you have an old 401k, you can roll it over into here. Right? If you have a thrift savings plan, if you're in the military, or a 403b if you were a teacher, they can roll over into these types of indexing strategies. It's very possible. Okay, so that way you protect what you built, and if the market does well, you can still capture the gains, but never have to risk losing any of your money. You know, here's another picture. Right? Again, indexing with index annuities is, and we got this article from Money Magazine because we wanted to leverage a credible magazine like Money Magazine, and they gave a great picture, basically kind of similar to what I just shared with you. And they said over the past 9 years, you have done better in an equity index annuity than the S&P 500. So again, this shows the growth of $100,000 in the year 2000. Look at the up and down of the blue line. Right? So from 2000 to 2002, $100,000 dropped down to 60. From the end of 2002 to 2008, right? You almost doubled, almost to 120. And then in 2008, look at that cliff, and that money dropped down to 75,000. Well, you see the red line. When the market's down, you're not going to be making any money, but you're not going to lose one single cent. And when the market picks back up in the red line there at the end of 2002, look at those gains. And when the market tanks, you're just going to go back to earning 0% at 159,000. So how powerful is that? If you look at it conceptually, it's a very amazing and powerful strategy, folks. 159,000 versus 75,000, and that's what we're talking about here, and that is what we offer middle-class America, because they don't know of any other options other than what the bank's offering or their company 401k, which most people don't even know what's inside their 401k. So now you can protect your money. You know, so let me just really quick here show you kind of a few scenarios and examples of illustrations that we provide our clients, and we give these complimentary. You know, there is no charge for us to be able to run a complimentary illustration, and these are actual accounts that we've done. You know, here's a case of a 45-year-old gentleman that we did a $250,000 rollover for, and he was age 45, and this is an indexed annuity. What he wanted was principal protection. He's like, look, I lost some money in 2008. He said this account was worth over $100,000 more than what it is right now, and I don't want to lose it. But he still wanted to be able to take the gains of the market. So what we gave him here is a worst case scenario. Here, if we gave him a worst case scenario, if the market does 0%, meaning that if it does between 45 and we ran it to age 67, if the market just performed terribly and didn't do anything, well, the good news is that he wouldn't lose one single penny, right? But the better news is that the accounts that we roll over our index annuities will at least keep up with the pace of inflation. And I told you inflation was 4%. Well, there's a roll-up rate that this account will at least grow by 4% per year, right? And we explained that in detail on a one-on-one basis, but basically over the next 22 years, this account rolled up by 4%, and that $250,000 by age 66 was about $592,000. So based on the withdrawal percentage of this specific account, this gentleman could pull out 5.7% of this $592,000 and take out $33,771 per year for life. Every single year for the rest of his life. And to be able to tell someone that we can guarantee that amount is, it's mind-boggling. It's awesome that we can secure people's money. And this gentleman wanted to have $100,000. That was his goal, to be able to live off by the time he reached retirement per year. And he gave him such peace of mind to know that, you know what, over 1/3 of what his goal was is already taken care of. He's like, I don't want to gamble with this. I want to focus on something that I know that I can count on. And so that's what we're able to do here. So isn't that powerful? So let me show you here again with some indexing. Now, the chances of the market doing 0% for the next 22 years is highly unlikely. If that were to happen, we'd have worse things to worry about. You know, but I want to show you with some actual indexing, because remember we told you that if the market goes up, you'll be able to make some money. And so there's going to be some decent years. So you see here, this is the historical interest, exactly what it would have done, would he have done this 22 years ago. So year one, 4.82%. That's $12,000 on that $250,000 of interest, right? So now the new account balance is $261,000. Year two, 2.76. Year three, 7.61. Just want to highlight a few examples. And year five didn't make any money, but didn't lose a dime. So the account stays at $297,798. So just kind of fast forwarding here, each year you see some decent gains. Not great gains. Some of these years you see some low gains, but something is better than nothing, right? And if you could earn something instead of risking it, because you see there's no negatives here. The lowest that you ever see here is 0.0. So I don't see any negative numbers here because we don't participate in the negatives here. The worst you can ever do is earn 0% in 1 year. I think that's a darn good deal. So you see here at 65, he was able to grow that money to about $645,000. And with that amount, he was able to take 5.7%, right? That's the withdrawal rate of that amount. Right? I think I went a little too far. Of that, of $645,000, it took $36,791. Powerful. And that is not only guaranteed per year, but for the rest of his life. No matter how long he lives. And remember, we go back to people fear outliving their money, and people are living a lot longer. So imagine people that are living past 100. Well, you think you give someone peace of mind to know that they have something they can count on, and no matter how long this person lives, he's going to be able to count on this money, right? And we're not talking about this no-name company. We're talking about a very powerful company, okay? So this is A-rated. They've been doing this for long periods of time. So great stuff here, guys. So this is what we can offer on the rollover side, especially for those of you that are near retirement and you want to protect your principal. We can do that. Now let me show you, for those of you that are, in my opinion, between the ages of 25 and 45, what Andrew talked about in the green zone, which is the tax-free account, and we talked about the cash accumulation inside of a life insurance contract. This is what we mean. You know, we believe in just like indexing, but the benefit, if you're young and you're still starting out and you're still in the accumulation phase, meaning you're still putting money aside on a monthly basis, we believe in you not only being able to protect who you love, which is protect your loved ones, but also being able to build a retirement that also has the same benefits of tax-free money that's guaranteed for life. So here, I'm going to go through this, you know, very quickly, and I know a lot of you may have some questions because I always get a lot of questions, but for sake of time, I'm just going to cover it generally. If you have specific questions, we can do this one-on-one and show you more specifics based on your specific situation so you have more clarity and understanding. But basically here's an index universal life policy with the very top company. You know, for a 27-year-old male, he was able to get $345,000 of life insurance. So if something ever happens, his family would be taken care of with tax-free money. We want to protect those that we love, but he was also, you know, very concerned about starting to save money for his retirement. So within his budget, he could save $200 a month, and we feel for most middle-class people that's a very feasible number. So starting at $200 a month and increasing that by $100 every 5 years. So you see here, $2,400. That's $200 a month times 12 months. 5 years later, at age 32, he's doing $300. That's $3,600. 5 years after that, that's $4,800. Right, so we're doing $400, and then at 42, $500, and then we do it by $50 increments, $6,600, and so on and so forth. And I just want to get to the point to see what the value of this, because this is not some get rich quick. This is long term. This is something that you want to build over time. And if you still have time on your side, I promise you that I believe Index Universal Life is that product of the future because of its guarantees. So just like index annuities, what I just shared with you, this also has the same benefits. You get the upside of the market with none of the downside. And in this case, if you look at over 38 years, what this gentleman was able to do by age 64 is out of his pocket, he put away $217,000. Now, based on this company, and is one of the best companies right now because they offer a lifetime income benefit. So not only is he going to be able to pull out money for life, but it's going to be tax-free, and that amount is $45,318. So you look at here in the first 2 years, he's pulled out $90,000. So that's almost half of what he put in over 38 years in his first 2 years of retirement. Now we want to fast forward 12 years later, he's already pulled out over $500,000 of 100% tax-free money that he can never outlive. It's guaranteed for life, and it's all tax-free. So 12 years retirement, pulling $543,000 out tax-free. Is that worth putting $217,000 over 38 years? And again, if he dies here at age 76 for whatever reason, he's still able to pass on to his family, his beneficiaries, his children, grandchildren, $547,000 of tax-free money. You know, and so one of the questions people have is, what interest rate are you running this at? Well, we ran this, you see here, about 6.7. So 7%, I believe, on average, is a darn good interest rate. Okay, and what this account has actually done is 8.2% over the last 30 years because it's tied to the S&P 500 without it being in there. So the cost of living is 4%. I'm very confident that 7% is a very comfortable and the average interest rate that we can potentially count on over the next 30 years for this client. So this is pretty powerful, guys. So just fast forward, last thing here is, again, if you're able to live to age 100, right, we're looking at 96. Remember, he put away $217,000, but he took out $1.45 million. And he's still able to leave a little something of a death benefit, $96,000. Because basically he lived off of all of his money 100% tax-free, and still being able to leave a little, you know, something for the burial, and, you know, leave a few bucks behind for people that that he cares about. So I get a lot of questions from that, and guys, we can definitely help you with that. We can answer any questions. We can break it down. We like to say Barney style. I just basically wanted to cover that with you, and based on what we just covered, we gave you a lot of information. You know, and if you're interested in learning more, maybe you want a specific illustration as far as what your retirement could look like, right? And this is what you may be interested in. So number one is maybe you're still at a phase where you're saving money for retirement, but you want those tax advantages, and you want that added safety of never losing money in a down market, but you want the potential to earn money in a good market. Maybe you're just looking at life insurance because you want to protect those people that you love. Maybe you have some debt and you want to look at a debt reduction strategy or start an emergency fund. You know, maybe you're a little bit older and you've already set aside money for retirement and you have some of these accounts like a 401k, IRA, a thrift savings plan, 403b, and you want to protect that. You don't want to lose any of that money, so you want to look at a rollover with index strategies. We can do that for you. That's a complimentary consultation. You know, and maybe you don't have any of these things. Maybe it's like, you know what, I just want to know where I currently stand, you know, because we don't know where to start. And we just need some coaching on getting to that next level financially. We can help you with that as well. So no matter what your financial situation looks like, guys, if you're serious, we're serious about helping you and helping you get to that next level. And no matter where you stand, we promise we can help you if you're committed on changing some of those paradigms, maybe having a great shift in psychology and being willing to change those habits. So here are your options. Again, become a client. It's complimentary. You know, maybe you have a friend, you know, refer a friend that can benefit from this education. We'll be more than happy to help out. It's complimentary. You know, if you already have an advisor, you feel like you have a plan in place, it doesn't hurt to get a complimentary second opinion, guys. Right? We're not going to BS you or haggle you. If you have something that's great in place, we'll let you know. It doesn't hurt to at least know what your options and alternatives are out there. At the very least, you expand on your education as far as what's out there in the marketplace that could benefit you financially. So again, the next steps is, you know, Andrew's going to put in the pop-ins there. You see on the right, there's a questionnaire that you can click on immediately after this presentation. Go ahead and fill it out. Let us know what you got from this. You know, maybe some things. Give us some constructive criticism of what you'd like to see more of or what you didn't like. I mean, we're open. We want to make sure that this gets better for the benefit of all our viewers. Again, refer someone that might be a fit that needs our services. You know, and schedule a follow-up interview. You know, if you're not in our region right now, I'm in San Diego, California, Southern California. You know, Andrew's in Florida. If you're in one of the other 50 states, the beauty of technology is that we can do a webinar, and we've been doing very successful at that. We can do a one-on-one. It's private, and we can kind of answer some of your questions. So let me get back here to my camera, and I think we're good. So. Awesome, guys. I want to say I really appreciate your time. Hope you got a lot of value from what we shared. It's always a pleasure to educate and share resources. And, you know, if all you got from this was education, you're like, wow, now I feel like I learned so much more, and now I understand how that works. Then more power to you. That's what this was about. You know, so with that, Andrew, I don't know if you wanna share anything else, but with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and cut it there. I think we're reaching that hour mark, and go ahead and wrap it up.
All right, so just like Carlos said, thank you so much, and we absolutely value your feedback. And I did get a couple questions on there. I'm going to do some direct messaging back because it's typical questions we get asked. And a couple ones on there is, hey, how does this work? And it's super easy. It's very simple math, and we're going to break it down Barney style. I love doing that. And so for the couple people of you there, I'm going to just send you direct messages. And hey, thank you so much. Hope you got value. Have a great day.